back to Unmasking the Heart for Change, where we dive into real stories behind transformation, one heart to heart at a time. I'm your host, Tammy Winstead. I'm so thankful you're here with me today. Today's episode is personal, reflective, and honestly, long overdue. Before we begin, I want to give you a little warning. This episode may just change the way you see leadership, community, and yourself. Because today, I'm unmasking an experience that didn't just change me, it reshaped me from the inside out. An experience that cracked open parts of me I didn't even know needed healing and awakened strengths I didn't realize were waiting to be used. Now, you know I have to do it with using one of my greatest strengths. I have to tell you a story, of course. You see, long before this podcast existed, before I stepped boldly into my leadership journey, before the microphone ever found its way back into my hands, I learned the art of storytelling in the most unexpected place. Childhood mischief. When I was young, I stayed up to something always. I was the mastermind behind the not so smart, but definitely fun decisions, and somehow I still remained the lovable one in the group. So, when my friends and I would get caught doing something that we were absolutely not supposed to be doing, the room would fall silent and everyone would turn to me. Not because I was a good liar. Lord knows that is not my gift. I've told on myself way more than anyone else has ever told on me. But I had a way of reshaping the moment, softening the edges, and creating a little space where grace could slip in before consequences came rolling through. That was my earliest training ground, learning how to read a room, hold a story, make space, and guide people toward understanding instead of judgment. I didn't realize it then, but that ability would one day become one of the most defining parts of my purpose. Now, I want to take you back to something I mentioned in a previous episode number 19, where I unmasked my biggest regret, wasted conversation. It's where I shared with you about my life mentor, Janie. That was taken from us way too soon. There was a time in my life when I was on stage a lot with microphone in hand. And while that season holds some sweet memories, and the two greatest gifts I've ever received were born in that stage of my life, it also carries some heavy ones. It was a chapter of my life that taught me a lot about the people I let into my space and the spaces I allowed myself to be in. And when I stepped away from it, I started hearing things about myself that simply weren't true. And because I tend to keep my struggles private, people filled those gaps with wild, inaccurate assumptions because fiction was more entertaining than the truth of what I was really going through. So I made a decision. I chose not to defend myself. I didn't chase down the lies. I didn't try to prove anything to anyone. For the first time in my life, I gave myself permission to walk away from people. It was also the first time I normalized unknowing people, setting healthy boundaries, and I don't regret that action to this day. That was more than 15 years ago, and choosing to let my character speak for me has carried me further than anything I could have ever stood on a stage and said. During that season, I walked away from the microphone completely. I focused on healing, rebuilding, and understanding myself deeply enough to not repeat the same painful lessons. The truth is, I realized I didn't want the stage. I didn't want the spotlight. I found that I actually disliked all of those things as part of my former life more than I realized. I found I was genuinely happy to stay as far away from it as possible. During this time of my life, my dear friend Janie spoke words of life into me that while I didn't want to hear it at the time, Something inside of me resonated with it, and I knew she was right. She simply said, "One day you'll hold the microphone again, but this time it will be in different arenas." And me, being the wounded version of myself, responded with a big, bold, dramatic, "No thanks." But she knew better. She saw what I couldn't yet see. And today, sitting here hosting this podcast, living out the calling she's spoken to me over 15 years ago, I honor her. Those seeds she planted, they are bearing fruit in this very season of my life. And I'm grateful she was the one who placed them in the ground. Here's the truth. I've always been more comfortable greeting people at the door than standing on the stage addressing the entire room. I'm a one on one connector. I'm fascinated by people, their stories, their purpose, the things that make them unique and valuable. I'm a collector of stories and a people person to my very core. That's just the natural podcaster in me, the conversationalist who somehow meets someone everywhere I go. But lately, I feel a shift. Not something I'm chasing. It's not something I'm forcing. Just a quiet opening in the atmosphere around me. A gentle nudge that maybe, just maybe, it's time to hold space in a new way. And here's the difference. For the first time in my life, I'm not bulldozing my way toward anything. You know that part of you that just makes things happen? Yeah, that defines me. For most of my life, if I wanted something, I pushed, plowed, and powered my way through every obstacle. Sometimes making messes where gentler steps would have worked just fine. But in this season, I'm calmer, more emotionally aware, more protective of my time and energy, the resources we can't manufacture more of. I've learned that not everything deserves a reaction, or my voice, or an explanation. What I know for certain is this: whatever is meant for me will always be for me. And whatever is removed from me, well, that's just divine redirection. Now, let me be extremely clear here. I'm in no way seeking the stage, but I'm finally open to it. If that's where the author of my story leads, then I'll gladly go. But he has to open the door. And if he does, I'll walk through it. That mindset shift played a huge role the day I stumbled across the post from the Arkansas State University Delta Center's Women's Leadership Academy. And let me tell you what I've unmasked. The biggest lie wasn't that I wasn't good enough. The biggest lie was that I told myself I didn't belong. When I first saw the post about the Leadership Academy, something in me whispered, "You should apply." Then immediately, the other voice, the one we're all too familiar with, chimed in and said, "No, you don't really belong in that room. That room is way too big for you." Now, not one single person told me that. I said it to myself. I scrolled past the post, but the idea wouldn't leave me alone. Eventually, I clicked the link, copied the questions into a document, and told myself I would just think about it. But deep down, I knew I really wanted to find the courage to apply. I thought long and hard about each one of those questions. I mean, if I were to apply, they of course wouldn't pick me. Again, no one told me that. It's a lie I told myself. I finally convinced myself to just try it. What would it hurt, right? So I applied, and then later, when the email from the Delta Center came, my heart raced as I clicked it open. I was accepted. That certainly changed things because, I mean, applying is one thing, but showing up is another. What in the world had I done? What had I gotten myself into? Now, this is a question I tend to find myself asking quite a bit through life. I digress. That first day, I was equal parts excited and terrified. But stepping into that room changed me. For 6 Mondays, we traveled the Arkansas Delta: Jonesboro, Batesville, El Dorado, Blytheville, Searcy, and Little Rock, learning from leaders who poured wisdom, honesty, and heart into us. Every Tuesday, we dug into ourselves, our strengths, our blind spots, our leadership styles, our capacity for impact. And during those sessions, we were tasked with creating a service project. That's where the idea for this podcast was born. So, we've unmasked the lie I told myself. Now let's unmask a lie that others told me, and I foolishly believed for far too long. On the very first day of the Arkansas Delta Women's Leadership Academy, I sat in my car and gave myself a pep talk from the Embassy Suite to the Cooper Alumni Center at A State. Looking back, I struggle calling it a pep talk now. But nonetheless, I told myself, Tammy, you're a lot. You've been told that far too many times. Don't overwhelm people. Go in, find your seat, sit down, and be quiet. That pep talk came from old wounds. Times in my life when I had been told I was too much or that I was a lot. But as the sessions unfolded, I couldn't stay in that box any longer. I watched women show up unapologetically as themselves, and their courage gave me permission to do the same. That's when everything began to change for me. Fast forward to our fifth session, one of my classmates mentioned that she had really enjoyed watching me come out of my shell. In a room where I knew I was finally truly accepted for who I was, I admitted to her that I had found the courage to show up authentically, no longer afraid of being told I was too much. That's when those healing words came. My dear friend looked at me and simply said, I don't think you're too much. I think you're great. That moment shifted and began to heal something deep inside of me. Thank you, Nisha. Because in that moment, I realized I was finally in a room full of people who wanted to see me, who valued my voice, my ideas, my passions, all the things I had been told were too much. I realized in that room I was surrounded by high performing women, women who weren't competing, but cheering, who weren't threatened, but inspired, who weren't dismissive, but celebrating, women who were just like me, women that were proud of their accomplishments and eager to pour into one another. I found myself in a room where I belonged. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't too much. I had simply been in rooms that were too small. If that hit you, take a moment. Sit with it. Don't excuse it away. One of the brilliant minds behind the Women's Leadership Academy, Dr. Sharice Jones Branch, talked to us a lot about the importance of emotional intelligence. She broke it down in a way that resonated with me more than any other training I had ever gone through regarding this topic. Her teaching completely changed me. She challenged us with a concept that emotions are data. Pay attention to what rises and acknowledge what caused them to rise. She encouraged us to not excuse our emotions away, but to acknowledge and honor them, to make space for what we feel as part of who we are. Think about that. Make space for what you feel as part of who you are. That's a challenge to honor it, to learn from it. And if you ever get the chance to sit underneath her teaching, friend, run to that room. It will completely change your life. At the beginning of the leadership training, we were all challenged to create a service project. I didn't know what mine would be, but the more stories I heard, the more communities we visited, the more leaders I met on quiet back roads and in small towns throughout the Arkansas Delta, the more I realized something. These stories needed a home, they needed a space, and they needed a microphone. Not the microphone like I once stood behind, but a new one. A microphone used to amplify and unmask voices. A space to honor the change makers in our communities. The ones who weren't afraid of the messy middle parts of their stories. Those that were determined to bring about positive impact no matter what it took to make it happen. In that previous season of my life where I first held a microphone, life encouraged me to wear a mask, to appear that I had it all together so that people would be inspired to come and participate. This season of my life, my microphone is serving the complete opposite. It's encouraging people to talk about the fact that true change isn't shiny or perfect. It's often uncomfortable, uncertain, and full of lessons we never expected to learn. It reveals the people behind the progress, the ones building hope, healing, and transformation in their communities. Authentic stories that inspire and cause a ripple effect outward. Stories that remind us real change starts when one person chooses to listen with an open heart. That's why Unmasking the Heart for Change was born. And since launching, it has become so much more than a podcast. It's a movement. It's a space where truth matters, where change reveals itself in real conversations, where stories shape us into more compassionate, conscious, and connected people. So, I've unmasked my heart behind why I applied for the program and how everything in my life shifted because I dared to invest in and bet on myself. Now, I want to leave you with something to sit with. Think about a moment in your life when you stepped back from something, a role, a relationship, a dream, or a previous version of yourself. What did that season of stepping away teach you about who you are becoming? And if you felt called to return to that space in a healthier, more aligned way, would you recognize that calling now? Give yourself permission to answer honestly with grace. Sometimes the most powerful transformation begins not when we step forward, but when we finally understand why we stepped back. The truth is, every part of your story matters, even the messy chapters, even the misunderstood ones, even the seasons where you walked away from the microphone unsure if you would ever use your voice again. Your story is shaping you for the rooms you're meant to stand in. And when the time is right, you won't have to force your way through the door. It will freely open because it was designed and perfectly curated just for you. Before we wrap up today, I want to share something special with you. At the very end of this episode, I've included my class remarks from the Arkansas Delta Women's Leadership Academy graduation because I wanted you to hear, in my own words, the heart, the growth, and the transformation that participating in this program created in me. I think it gives a truer, fuller picture of what this experience really meant to me and what it can mean for you. If anything in today's episode sparked something in you, curiosity, courage, or even that tiny whisper of, maybe I'm ready for more, I want to encourage you to lean into that nudge. And just like this Academy transformed me, it's expanding in a way that will transform even more leaders across the Arkansas Delta. Beginning next year, the Leadership Academy is stepping into a brand new season. It's being reimagined, redesigned, and intentionally restructured to open its doors to both women and men. This expansion is about strengthening communities, deepening collaboration, and creating space for every leader who feels that quiet pull toward purpose. Registration for the NEA Regional Leadership Accelerator Academy closes this Friday, and I genuinely believe that someone listening today is meant to be in that next cohort. So listen through to the end, enjoy the class remarks, and consider this your personal invitation to step into a room that just might change your life the way it changed mine. You can find the link to the registration in the show notes. Without further ado, I want to share this year's graduation class remarks with you. May these words give you a glimpse into the power of this journey and the possibility of your own. And never forget, change begins within, and it starts one heart to heart at a time.
On a class speaker, and that will be our next remarks. And she asked for no introduction because she's going to take a little bit more time than we had allotted for her. So she said, just use my introduction. So here's Tammy.
Yay! Well, that is going to be a hard one to follow. Thank you so much for that. So yes, they voted me class speaker, and since I have the mic, I'm going to use my time to introduce you to 24 amazing women that I got to meet this year. So standing here with you today, I am filled with gratitude. This is actually a first for me. I'm not normally voted class speaker, I'm normally voted class clown. So thank you for trusting me with this moment and for letting me represent the heart of who we are as a class. I'm grateful for not just this opportunity, but the journey that led each of us here. When I look around this room, I see 21 women who dared to say yes. They said yes to growth, they said yes to leadership, and they said yes to the Arkansas Delta. When we began this program, many of us didn't know exactly what we were going to be stepping into. We knew it would challenge us, but we really didn't know how deeply it would change us. It pushed us to look inward, to lean on one another, and to learn that leadership isn't about being the loudest voice in the room, it's about being the most authentic one. When I think back on this year, that first session in Jonesboro stands out clearly. The energy in the embassy suite lobby was electric, full of curiosity, nerves, and a quiet confidence. You could feel possibility in the air. I remember walking into the room on the first day of training that Tuesday and scanning all your note cards that said doctor in front of them and thinking, one of these things doesn't look like the other. But it didn't take me long to realize something powerful. I belong there. For the first time, I was surrounded by high-performing women who were competing, but cheering. Women who were proud of their accomplishments and eager to pour into one another. The first day taught me something important. Belonging doesn't come from matching the titles in the room. It comes from matching the purpose. As the months unfolded, each session stretched us in new ways, from community development, grant writing, to legacy, wellness, and advocacy. And yes, we'll never forget that on that day one, we learned there's not a man out there that holds his peace. And somehow in that moment, every woman in the room felt instantly seen. Each lesson built upon the next, layer by layer, like the rich soul of the Arkansas Delta itself, grounding us in purpose, planting seeds of confidence, and nurturing growth that can't always be seen, but can always be felt. We learn to lead with both head and heart, to balance thought and empathy, wisdom and vision with collaboration, and ambition with grace. We heard from women like Sandy Alston, who broke through the glass ceiling in a male-dominated industry, and I'll never forget her joy describing the moment she finally saw the line for the women's restroom at an industry convention. A small but powerful symbol of progress. A reminder to manage your personal brand with the same intention that you manage your company brand stuck with us all. President Kennedy from the 2024 cohort reminded us that success isn't about perfection, it's about perspective. She challenged us to feed opportunities and starve problems. And that phrase has been a part of my leadership toolkit, a mindset shift towards solutions, not obstacles. Dr. Sharice Jones Branch spoke about emotional intelligence in a way that challenged me personally. She reminded us to not excuse our emotions, but to acknowledge and honor them, to make a space for what we feel is part of who we are. And Dr. Jones Branch, I'm just going to pause here for a second and say we're all still waiting for that Monday morning Word of Wisdom podcast, and I'm going to be your first subscriber. Dr. Brooke Shield-Laurent taught us that wellness is not separate from leadership, it's actually part of it. That rest isn't a reward, it's a rhythm, and clarity doesn't come in the rush, it comes in the stillness. Mallory Dahlgren grounded us in community and courage, reminding us that when we listen with integrity and respond with intent, people notice and trust is built. And Lenore Trammell reminded us that legacy isn't what we leave for people, it's actually what we leave in them. That leadership is not taught, and people don't just follow your words, they follow your example. And somehow along the way this year, we stopped asking, what can this program do for me? And started asking, what can I do with what I've learned? We learned that leadership in the Delta requires resilience. It causes us to see possibilities where others see limitations and to grow something extraordinary from the soul that we've been given. We learned to embrace differences in backgrounds, opinions, and experience because perspective adds value. And we learned that connection is the heartbeat of progress. Real transformation happens when women collaborate instead of compete, and we all grow when we celebrate each other's wins and hold space for one another's challenges. As Mayor Stephanie White, another cohort of 2024, reminded us, we are status quo disruptors. Hustle and heart will always set us apart. For many of us, the Delta isn't just about where we live, it's who we are. This land has taught us the rhythm of hard work, the beauty of community, and the strength that grows from the struggle. To be rooted in the Delta means we know where we come from, what we stand for, and who we stand beside. But be rising in leadership means we refuse to let our story end there. We are not only the products of this place, but we're also the promise of its future. Now to my favorite part. They would give an award today for most likely to be out of her seat talking. We all know who that would win that one. I'm pretty sure I heard Tammy find your seat from Andrea and Carrie more than any other phrase this year. But to be fair, I wasn't off of task. I was just meeting all of you. Every story I heard made me even more proud of this group. And today, I want to celebrate you, my sisters in leadership. At our very first meeting, I learned about the incredible business that Tanya was preparing to launch right here in Little Rock called Bounce Fit. From that moment, her excitement and her determination were contagious. Watching her vision come to life was inspiring. When the grand opening day arrived, Veronica and I had the joy of cheering her on at her ribbon cutting event. Every detail of that day was planned perfectly, from the energy in the room to the design of the space, all reflected her hard work, creativity, and heart. It was a beautiful reminder that dreams really do take shape when passion meets perseverance. A Kissy has a way of lighting up every room she enters in with her bold, joyful, and full of life personality. As a speaker and the founder of Ambitious Girls, she leads with authenticity and purpose. This year, we watched her take her message all the way to Ghana with her group. She's a trusted speaker at numerous events and has expanded her organization into a large space, which gives her the opportunity for even greater impact. And now, she's stepping into an entirely new chapter by enlisting in the Army Reserve. Her growth this year has been inspiring to witness, a true reflection of passion, vision, and heart-driven leadership. If there's one person I aspire to be when I grow up, it's Jennifer. From day one, she has been the definition of preparation and professionalism. I'll never forget the first summer's project breakout session when she arrived with a complete presentation document with strategy and clear steps for execution, and I built a notebook. All I could say was, wow. She continues to set the bar high with her unwavering standard for excellence, showing us what it truly looks like to lead with confidence, organization, and grace. I can without a doubt listen to Harper talk for hours. Every story she shares is full of heart, grit, and authenticity. Working in a male-dominated field, she carries herself with such a quiet confidence and strength that just naturally commands respect. Last month, we had the joy of celebrating her as she prepares to welcome a new life into this world. And I can already picture that sweet little baby boy growing up on the family farm, following in the steps of his wonderful parents. There's always something special about the moment that Josetta and Linda walk into the room. The energy shifts as their positive vibes enter, and absolutely nothing beats the hugs that they give or the warmth that they bring. I can't help but gravitate to them because their joy is genuine, their hearts are huge, and their leadership has been one of my favorite parts of this program. Watching them transform the space for the Boys and Girls Clubs felt truly symbolic because that's exactly what they do in their work that they lead every day. Linda leads with compassion and purpose. Her dedication to serving vulnerable populations is deeply inspiring, and her ability to turn empathy into action is the kind of leadership that changes lives. Josetta embodies strength and advocacy. She uses her voice to protect and empower others, bringing awareness, education, and genuine care to one of the most important missions there is by creating safety and healing for survivors. Thank you both for being the example that you are to our group. I'll never forget the first time that I excitedly walked up to Raina and gave her a big old hug, and she said, "Okay." And I'm not gonna lie, it was at that moment I thought I wasn't gonna win a skirt. But fast forward to our last session when she told me that she was actually looking forward to seeing me that day. And it brought tears to my eyes. Raina, I absolutely adore your presence. You have this quiet strength and calming energy that grounds the room every time you walk in it. So just so you know, I'm still hugging you every time I see you because we're friends now, sis, and you're not getting rid of me. Our sweet Jolisa amazes us every time she talks about the financial planning she already has her kids doing. She is raising future CEOs in the making, that is for sure. The way she speaks, the way she leads, and the way she soulfully helps those around her is truly inspiring. Every moment spent with her feels like a masterclass in wisdom and grace. She carries herself with a quiet confidence and a servant's heart, the kind of leader we should all strive to learn from and emulate. One of my very first connections I made in the program was with Stacy. Even though we were from the same county, we hadn't yet met, but I'm so glad that changed. Since then, I've had the joy of traveling with 2 sessions with her in her self-driving car. Terrifying. And hosting her on my podcast where we both ended up in tears talking about her heart for the Mississippi County foster kids. I stand in awe of her courage and confidence on the pageant stage and in life, and couldn't be prouder to call her my friend, our very own queen, inside and out. Our sweet Lexi, apparently Alexis we learned today, has been an absolute joy from day one. I can always count on her to share a story or a moment that's going to send me into one of those big loud laughs that fill the whole room, the way her joyous presence does. Her energy is magnetic, and her love for her work and her community is truly contagious. Lexi, the way you pour your heart into everything you do is so inspiring, and I know that your community is incredibly lucky to have you, sis. This year, we had another classmate celebrating a major life milestone moment, Adriana. What a joy it's been to witness this new chapter unfold as she celebrates her recent engagement. Congratulations. She was also named as one of the 2025 Women to Watch by the Arkansas Business Publication Group, and honestly, it could not have gone to a better person. She truly inspires us for the way she leads, always relationship-centered, always intentional, and always focused on lifting up each other up. Watching you remove barriers and create opportunities for entrepreneurs across our state has been incredible. Arkansas is truly lucky to have your heart and your leadership. One of the very first things I learned about Nisha was her cycling journey and training that she was going through, and I've been in awe ever since. The level of commitment, discipline, and focus she brings to everything she does is nothing short of inspiring, and pouring herself fully into her passions, balancing the strength with the sweetest spirit. She carries a calm, genuine energy that lights up every room she enters. She leads by example, proving that true power comes from showing up consistently, authentically,
and with heart. This year, we got to celebrate one of our very own, Jessica, as she was named Arkansas Middle School Counselor of the Year. Yes, yes. What an incredible and well-earned recognition of the heart and dedication she brings to her work every single day. It doesn't take long to be around her to see how deeply she loves those students and how bluntly they reflect that love right back on her. The hope, encouragement, and compassion that she pours into those students every day is shaping lives in a way that will ripple for generations to come. She's the perfect example of building more than a career, but building a legacy of love and impact on our future. Thank you. One of the qualities I admire most about Tina is the way she listens. I wish I could listen the way Tina listens, with intention, focus, and genuine care. When you're talking, she's fully present. She's taking it all in, and she's already thinking about how she can help you. She has a gift of connecting people to ideas, resources, and opportunities that stretch far beyond what they could have ever imagined. She has a servant's heart and a leader's mind, and that combination is pure magic. Tiffany and I learned that we share a mutual friend on day one, and we were talking about some of life's challenges, the kind that make you want to roll up your sleeve and peach people. And before I could finish my sentence, she looked at me with her calm, steady grace and said, "When they go low, we stay high." And that right there sums her up in one sentence. She embodies sophistication, class, and quiet strength, the kind that reminds you that showing up with grace is the loudest statement we can make. Although I'll admit, peaching them would have been more fun. Just saying. Without a doubt, the easiest person to talk to in the room is Heather, which is so perfectly fitting for her career choice. She has the calming presence that immediately puts you at ease, no matter what kind of day you're having. Conversations with her are never just small talk. They're grounding, full of insight, and often exactly what you didn't realize you needed to hear. She has such a rare gift of being able to listen to understand. She speaks with compassion, and she leaves people feeling better than she found them every single time. This year, I had the incredible honor of sharing the stage with Beth as she was inducted into the 2025 NEA Women in Business by Top Business and Politics magazine. Watching her be recognized for her dedication and leadership was truly inspiring. What stands out most about her to me is her courage. She stepped out of her comfort zone into a completely new career field and didn't just learn the position, but excelled at it. Her passion for her community shines through everything she does. Now she's taking that commitment even further by filing to run for Justice of the Peace District 2 of Crittenden County. Beth, your willingness to lead, serve, and step boldly into new arenas is a beautiful reminder that impact grows when courage is planted. Your story is such a beautiful reminder that bold leads often lead to our brightest impact. The love and the passion that Trega has for her students and her desire to help them succeed is truly unmatched. You can see it in every project she leads and in the way her eyes light up when she talks about their progress and the impact that she wants to make in their lives. The care, creativity, and attention to detail she pours into her work sets a standard of excellence that inspires everyone around her. I think we can see that in her project today. This year, we've had the privilege of watching her bring the same heart and precision to everything she does. A true educator who leads with both purpose and pride. Molly carries herself with such a quiet confidence, the kind that earns respect the moment she speaks. She's so easy to be around, steady in her presence, and always brings a sense of calming into the room. Her eye for managing complex detail with precision and grace is truly inspiring. Her thoughtful nature and strong leadership minds reminds us that impact doesn't need a microphone. Sometimes it's felt most from consistency, presence, and excellence that you bring into the room with everything that you do. And of course, my dear friend Veronica. We connected on day one, and that bond has only grown stronger with every session since. From spontaneous road trips to cheering each other on in our project, she's been a constant source of encouragement and accountability. Every conversation with her feels like iron sharpening iron, and we walk away refocused, re-energized, and ready to take on whatever life throws out of our way. And good luck. She is the kind of friend everyone should strive to be, and her fire and the way she leads with grace, dignity, and the way she shows up with heart, truly amazing. None of this growth or confidence would have been possible without the incredible women who poured into us with wisdom and grace, our leaders who kept us grounded, inspired, and occasionally herded back to our seats. Dr. Sharice Jones Branch, your presence commands both respect and reflection. You lead with intellect, authenticity, and a love for community, reminding us that leadership is both a privilege and a responsibility. The wisdom that you shared challenges us to think bigger, stand taller, and own our space with confidence. You've not only taught us about leadership, you've modeled it. There's strength, humility, and conviction. Thank you for showing us that purpose-driven leadership truly changes the world. Carrie, every moment spent with her feels like getting a glimpse into my own future. And I absolutely love that. You embody the kind of leader I aspire to be. Confident yet compassionate, focused yet full of heart. You lead with grace, intention, balancing professionalism and warmth in the way that makes everyone feel capable and seen. Watching you navigate challenges while still lifting others up has been one of my greatest takeaways this year. You are straight, wrapped in grace, and we are all better for it. And Andrea, another 2025 NEA Women in Business recipient, has been the heartbeat of this entire experience. Your guidance, wisdom, and unwavering belief in each one of us have left a mark that will stay long after this program. You see potential before we even recognize it in ourselves, and you challenge us to stretch while making us feel supported and every step of the way. You've led with humor, heart, and authenticity, and because of you, we now sit in these seats with confidence, knowing we belong there. Each of these amazing women has inspired me in ways that I can't fully put into words. You challenged me, encouraged me, and reminded me that authentic leadership looks like. Because of this class, I'm walking away a stronger, braver version of myself, and I'll forever be grateful for the honor of growing alongside each extraordinary women represented here today. This past year reminded us that leadership isn't about holding a title, it's about holding space. It's about taking what we've learned and using it to create opportunity, visibility, and hope for others. The Arkansas Delta Women's Leadership Academy didn't just teach us skills. It reshaped our perspective, gave us the courage to challenge norms, and the tools to build solutions, and the network to keep going when the work gets hard. We are rooted in the Delta, steady, grounded, and proud of where we came from. And we are rising in leadership, bold, innovative, and ready to lead with purpose. The Delta is changing, and we are the ones shaping that change. One decision, one project, and one voice at a time. So here's to the cohort of 2025. We are leaders, we are learners, we are status quo disruptors, and together we are the future of the Arkansas Delta. Thank you.
Tammy, can you come back to the stage? We wanted to make sure that you got one of these for speaking. And for someone who says that she doesn't speak, I think she's about to hit the speaking circuit. I mean, I don't know where you came up with all of those adjectives. So thank you for that. Very good.